Yeah, we do. And actually, we have Carlos Lowenberg, who could probably chat about that a little bit right now. CEO of Lowenberg Wealth Management Group, joining us out of Austin, Texas. Carlos, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What do you make of what's going on, not only today, but really over the last, you could probably say 2 weeks with all these triple-digit days, up or down? We got the VIX moving higher. Why so,
Right.
you think?
Well, I think there's a lot of problems that people see in the economy. Europe's a problem, like you just spoke about. I think China has sort of scared people with needing to tighten. But all in all, we think that we're still bullish, but we do see some volatility in the short run, and people might want to think about whether they can take that volatility.
So
before now, everybody was lulled to sleep.
Yeah.
Right, but so what's the explanation for today, or is there none? Is it more of this amorphous, everything's coming to a head, things are not nearly as good as we thought they were, so we're pulling back?
I don't think so. I think that markets don't go straight up, and when they do, when they seldom do, you know that's typically the end of a bubble. So I think this is normal in an uptrend. I really do.
Even with that said, how are you playing this right now? I mean, are you trying to maybe stay on the sideline a little bit, or are you advising some of your clients to, look, stay where you are, maybe stay in pat, don't worry so much about the short-term volatility?
Well, we try to tell our clients, look at the long term, and the short term is something that you can't control at all. And so when people are worried about volatility, we advise our clients, most of them are business owners, to look at their wealth in 3 buckets. And the market bucket right in the middle, and then the aspirational bucket on the one side and personal risk on the left. So maybe move more to the personal side to be less risky if these kinds of swings bother them. But by and large, we're here for the long term, and we think this isn't going to matter much.
So then what's making you optimistic about the long term? Is it that the consumer maybe is coming back a little bit? Is it some notion that the government's pulling out and stepping away? What makes you happy going forward?
Well, there's a lot of problems out there, of course, but they're all getting smaller. They're not getting bigger. And so we're making progress. And it is a market, so it's going to move up and down. But by and large, we see things getting better and not worse. And we see corrections in Europe. We see corrections in policy here, you know, that are going to help. So we feel good about that. There's always, of course, the unknowns, and things like what happened in New York over the weekend are scary, but we feel good about it going forward.
You know, Carlos, we're going to talk with John Brown a little bit later on in the show. I have a sneaky suspicion that since he's usually a little bearish, he's going to be telling us to get into gold and get into safety. It sounds to me like you're more on the opposite side of that, that maybe you might like some consumer discretionary exposure, you might like some industrial exposure, something that really tends to grow when we are, you know, steeped in the return here, steeped in the recovery.
The recovery is still going on, and we're going to move into expansion eventually. So even though unemployment might be kind of scary, that's the last indicator, and I think he'll talk about that later as well. The other thing to look at is that if you look at the earnings, you know, the S&P, for instance, earnings are still in line with where we are in the marketplace. And in fact, if you look at interest rates and earnings, the market is still pretty low from a value perspective.
You know, one of the things in your notes that it says that you like or select areas of real estate. What areas then of the real estate market are you interested in?
Well, I still like some of the REIT funds and REITs out there. I think that real estate's been beaten up so bad that there's some big opportunities, and we also like MLPs for some of their tax benefits, as well as some of the yield characteristics that are available, because they're not available in bonds right now.
Carlos, what are you seeing?
We feel better about those.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, we feel better about those assets than say traditional muni bond assets or other, you know, low yielding assets right now.
At Lowenberg Wealth Management, you guys deal with a lot of entrepreneurs. What are you seeing from your client base in terms of whether it's the willingness to go out there and spend once again coming out of this recession, the ability to get financing? I mean, what are they telling you and what are you seeing?
You know, financing is still very tough for the small business. However, we're seeing people take risk, buy equipment. They're not hiring yet, but they're going out and they're doing things that tell you they believe in expansion. And I'll tell you what else I hear a lot. People are again starting to say, what about taxes? In fact, the number one discussion the last, say, 6 weeks for me has been on taxes. People are concerned about tax rates going up and keeping their wealth away from the tax man. So
now I got to tell you,
that's
Carlos,
an optimistic sign.
Yeah.
Is it? Because it flips me out what the administration is doing to our small businesses, because they are correct to be concerned. They're going to get smashed, I was going to say something else, 6 ways till Tuesday, between the tax rates going up and health care reform. I mean, you name it, it's coming at them. So how are you preparing your clients for this?
Well, I mean, we're looking at a lot of tax planning. Taxes are the issue of the day. Health care is still, that's still something that people are looking at very closely. We don't know how yet to prepare our clients for that, except that to say it's coming and it's going to reduce your profit. But taxes, there's something you can do about, and business owners are getting ready for that. But being, you got to make money to pay taxes, and so people are talking about paying taxes, so that means they're talking about making money.
Carlos, real quick before we go, on a down 232 day, are you waiting for the pullback to continue before you start buying more? Or are you even looking at buying selective names even on a day like today, just midday right now, the market's only halfway through with the trading today?
We don't make short-term buy and sell recommendations. We're in it for the long term. I'll tell you that I think a lot of people are going to come in and start buying if this downturn continues in the market beyond today, you'll see some buyers come in.
Yeah, especially because a lot of people missed that last run. Carlos, thanks so much for being with us today.
Okay, thank you.
Carlos Lowenberg, CEO of Lowenberg Wealth Management out in Austin, Texas.
That's one of the best cities in America, by the way. Have you ever been to Austin, Texas?
No.
I encourage you to visit.